When former President Bill Clinton becomes the target of a shocking accusation, live, unscripted, and seen by over 200,000 viewers, Washington erupts. What happens when a man who once led the free world is accused of selling out the future? It was supposed to be a calm night on Capitol Hill. Representative Adam Schiff, known for his deliberate style and sharp rhetoric, had gone live on Instagram from his office, surrounded by books on constitutional law and clean energy policy. With over 200,000 viewers tuned in, the topic was standard: climate reform, Senate gridlock, and political willpower. Until it wasn't. Midway through a question about why the Green New Deal had stalled, Schiff leaned into the camera, frustration replacing formality. You want to know why we're not moving forward? It's not just the oil companies. It's the influence they still have, even on people we once celebrated, he said. Let's be honest. Former President Bill Clinton is part of the reason we're stuck. The chat went wild. Clinton still holds massive sway in Democratic fundraising, Schiff continued. And I'm not afraid to say it, his foundation is awash in money from fossil fuel interests. It's corruption cloaked in philanthropy, and it's holding us back. Then came the line that would launch a political earthquake. You can't call for climate justice when your biggest icon is bought by big oil. Across the country, in a quiet study in Chappaqua, New York, Bill Clinton watched the live stream in real time. There was no outward reaction, no slammed glass or raised voice. Just a long silence, and a click as the stream was paused. Clinton, now decades removed from the Oval Office, but still commanding influence, knew what was unfolding. These weren't vague criticisms. These were targeted allegations, broadcast live, watched by hundreds of thousands, and crafted to strike at the very heart of his legacy. And they were defamatory. Within hours, his legal team was on the move. Emails fired, calls made, documentation reviewed. By morning, a bombshell announcement hit D.C. Bill Clinton files $80 million defamation lawsuit against Representative Adam Schiff. Cable news exploded. Social media caught fire. Hashtag Clinton versus Schiff trended worldwide. This wasn't just about climate policy anymore. It was personal. It was legal. And it was about to get very, very public. The headline dropped like a warhead. Clinton sues Schiff for $80 million in federal defamation case. Cable networks cut into scheduled broadcasts. MSNBC's scroll read breaking. Clinton hits back. Fox News declared the lawsuit of the decade. Twitter, now called X, melted under the hashtag Clinton strikes back. Adam Schiff's office was caught flat-footed. Inside his Capitol Hill headquarters, aides rushed to verify the filing. When they pulled up the 63-page legal complaint, stamped, signed, and filed in federal court, they realized it was real. Clinton was serious. This wasn't a political slap. This was a full-frontal legal assault from a former president who still knew how to command attention. The complaint was brutal in its precision. It cited Schiff's statements as false, malicious, and made with reckless disregard for the truth. It accused Schiff of deliberately impugning the integrity of the Clinton Foundation and the former president's reputation in an effort to score political points with an online audience. But it wasn't just the allegations that made headlines, it was the evidence. Buried in the appendix was a redacted internal email from Schiff's digital strategy team, leaked anonymously, dated just one day before the live stream. In it, a staffer had written, "Clinton is still too big to ignore. We need a strong villain, someone our base will rally against. Fossil money plus foundation equals gold." But the most damning line came from Schiff himself, allegedly replying, "Fine. Hit him. Accurate or not." Legal experts pounced. "That phrase, accurate or not, is the smoking gun," said CNN's chief legal analyst. "It suggests actual malice, which is exactly what Clinton's lawyers need to prove in court." The clip of Schiff's livestream was everywhere. On TikTok, users duetted the footage with shocked faces. YouTube creators posted frame-by-frame breakdowns of his tone and phrasing. Even late-night comedians jumped in. Trevor Noah opened with, "Clinton's not on trial, but Schiff might be." Public reaction was fierce and divided. Progressive Twitter defended Schiff, hailing him as a truth-teller standing up to elite influence. But even among allies, a new narrative began to creep in. "We agree with Adam, but where's the proof?" Schiff, visibly rattled, held a press conference the following afternoon. Flanked by tired aides and a podium bearing his congressional seal, he addressed the lawsuit head-on. "This is a coordinated attempt to chill free speech," he said, "to silence criticism of powerful institutions. My remarks were part of a broader conversation on climate accountability. And yes, I named names, because if we're serious about change, we can't tiptoe around the titans of the past." The press room buzzed. One reporter asked whether the leaked email was authentic. Schiff deflected. "That email is out of context. It's selective, and I won't apologize for speaking truth to power." But behind the scenes, his staff was shaken. Internally, aides questioned the livestream strategy. One junior advisor told a Politico reporter off record, "We warned him. We said don't go after Clinton without hard evidence. He didn't listen." Meanwhile, Clinton was the picture of calm. At a press event for his global health initiative in Harlem, he made no direct mention of the lawsuit. But when asked about online misinformation, he smiled wryly. "People say a lot of things online," he said, "but truth matters. It always has, and it always will." His legal team, however, was aggressive. They began prepping for discovery, compiling donor records, tax filings, and public statements. Their goal: to show transparency on Clinton's part and recklessness on Schiff's. The accurate or not email became the cornerstone of their strategy. Cable news played both sides. MSNBC brought on former federal prosecutors who warned the case could backfire and empower more lawsuits against politicians. Fox News ran glowing segments on Clinton's comeback as a fighter against progressive overreach. Across the board, the drama was undeniable. Two political titans, one courtroom, tens of millions at stake, and at the center, a live stream, a legacy, and one sentence that could end a career. The Clinton versus Schiff lawsuit didn't just dominate headlines, it rewrote them. By the third day, it was everywhere. Cable news, podcasts, late-night monologues. Instagram reels were cut with dramatic music. TikTokers played both roles in split-screen reenactments. Every outlet, every algorithm was chewing on the same question. Did Adam Schiff lie about Bill Clinton? And suddenly, it wasn't just about legal evidence. It was about public perception, and the battlefield had gone nuclear. On CNN, anchors asked, "Has political speech gone too far?" On Fox News, "Clinton stands up to slander, will others follow?" On social media, hashtags like hashtag Clinton comeback, hashtag Schiff scandal, and hashtag who sold out climate competed for dominance. But inside Schiff's camp, the glow of digital support was beginning to dim. What once had been an unshakable base of progressive allies was now riddled with uncertainty. A viral Twitter thread from a prominent environmental activist posed a dangerous question. "Adam, we believe in the cause, but where's the proof? You can't fight corruption with speculation." It was retweeted over 60,000 times. Then came the first real crack. A staffer, unnamed but confirmed, spoke to The Intercept. The headline: "Schiff was warned about Clinton attack, sources say." In the article, internal emails revealed a division within Schiff's communications team in the days leading up to the livestream. Some had pushed for naming Clinton directly. Others cautioned restraint. One line stood out: "Going after Clinton could blow up in our faces." "We don't have hard proof. Only suspicions." That leak sent shockwaves through the press. MSNBC began walking back some of its support. A respected political analyst warned on air, "If Schiff pushed forward against staff advice, it raises questions about judgment, not just speech." And the Clinton team seized the moment. At a press conference outside a New York courthouse, Clinton's lead attorney, Gerald Langston, addressed reporters with calm authority. "We now have not only defamatory statements, but evidence of internal disagreement, proof that Congressman Schiff acted against counsel, despite knowing he lacked verification." He raised the infamous quote again, "accurate or not," then paused. In law, we call that actual malice. Clinton himself, ever media savvy, appeared the next evening on 60 Minutes. Sitting comfortably in a navy blue suit, he gave his first extended interview since the lawsuit was filed. "I didn't want this fight," he said, voice calm but firm. "But when someone with power calls you corrupt in front of millions, you can't ignore it. It's not about me anymore. It's about truth. And the truth is, what Schiff said wasn't just wrong, it was dangerous." The ratings were explosive. The segment was clipped and shared more than 15 million times across platforms. And Schiff, he doubled down. In a second Instagram Live, this time more controlled, with pre-submitted questions, he reaffirmed his belief that powerful figures must be held accountable. He did not mention Clinton by name, but his tone remained defiant. "I will never apologize for challenging entrenched power," he said, "even if that power wears a presidential seal." But the reaction was split. Loyal followers cheered. Others asked, "Okay, but what's the evidence?" Behind closed doors, his campaign team was in crisis mode. Polling in his home district showed a dip in support, small but significant. A key fundraiser postponed an event. Donors were nervous. Meanwhile, conservative media treated Clinton like a phoenix rising. The Daily Caller ran the headline, "Bill Clinton, the comeback king?" A Fox News panel debated whether this lawsuit would become a model for fighting what they called progressive smear campaigns. One host declared, "This is the most presidential Clinton has looked in 20 years." But for all the media fire, one fact remained. The lawsuit was heading to trial. Federal courts were reviewing evidence. Clinton's team was preparing subpoenas. Schiff's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss, but most analysts agreed it would be denied. The stakes had never been higher, because in this battle, it wasn't just reputations on the line. It was legacy, credibility, and the very definition of truth in the age of livestream politics. The lights were bright, the applause genuine, but Bill Clinton knew better than to mistake admiration for safety. Standing before a crowd of donors at a New York gala, he smiled, shook hands, made his usual quips about saxophones and back in Arkansas. But beneath the surface, the strategy was surgical. Every appearance now was calibrated, every word vetted. The former president was at war, not just in the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. The media narrative had shifted in his favor. That much was clear. Editorials in traditionally skeptical outlets like The Atlantic and Politico now questioned Schiff's judgment. The danger of going off script. One read. Even progressive publications began hedging their support, writing cautiously worded pieces about the burden of proof in public allegations. Inside Clinton's inner circle, the mood was controlled but confident. The evidence was strong. The phrase "accurate or not" had become a legal lodestar, and donors, long wary of the Clinton brand post-presidency, were now rallying again, not for political office, but for principle. Across the country, Schiff was feeling the cracks grow wider. In private strategy meetings, his team struggled to contain the fallout. Legal costs had surpassed $600,000. Campaign funds were being redirected. A second senior aide quietly left the staff, citing personal reasons. though insiders knew it was about the lawsuit. The internal leaks had spooked everyone. One particularly damaging report came from a New York Times investigative piece, revealing that Schiff had overridden his comms team's recommendations not to mention Clinton unless they had concrete financial links. He said the base would love it. One former aide claimed. He thought Clinton was untouchable, and therefore the perfect punching bag. Publicly, Schiff stayed composed. At a town hall in Los Angeles, he answered questions with his usual polish. When asked directly about the lawsuit, he deflected. "I've spent my life holding power to account. I won't stop now. Climate change doesn't care about legal threats." But the audience reaction was muted. Supporters clapped politely, but they weren't chanting anymore. Then came the moment that shifted the game once again. Clinton's team released a deposition notice for two of Schiff's former staffers, both believed to have warned him against making unverified claims. The legal maneuver, though routine, made headlines. Clinton targets Schiff's inner circle. Legal experts weighed in across networks. "It's rare to see a former president press this hard," said one constitutional law professor on CNN. "But it's effective. Clinton's playing this not like a politician, but like a prosecutor." And behind the scenes, that was exactly the strategy. Gerald Langston, Clinton's lead counsel, had once worked on high-profile federal cases involving media defamation. He knew that if they could prove Schiff knowingly ignored the truth, it wouldn't just win them a settlement. It would humiliate a sitting member of Congress. Meanwhile, Schiff's team prepared for damage control. Donors were nervous. One longtime supporter emailed the campaign saying, "I believe in the mission, but I can't fund a legal defense." A key youth outreach event was canceled after students demanded answers about the email leak. And perhaps most painfully, Democratic leadership went quiet. At a closed-door DNC event, when reporters asked about Schiff's lawsuit, the response from a senior party leader was cold. "We're focused on protecting reproductive rights and winning the House. Adam's issue is his own." The message was unmistakable. He was on his own. That night, Schiff sat down for a private dinner with two of his oldest political allies. One of them, a former senator, didn't mince words. "You poked a lion at him," he said, "and you did it on camera." Outside the restaurant, reporters waited. Cameras flashed. The story was no longer just legal. It was personal, symbolic, and volatile. And for both men, the stakes had never been higher. Because beyond the headlines and hashtags, this was no longer a question of who's right. It was a question of who would survive. The courtroom was quiet, but the world outside was screaming. As the trial date approached, the Clinton versus Schiff defamation case became more than a legal matter. It had evolved into a symbol of modern political warfare: reputation versus rhetoric, legacy versus live streams. Inside Clinton's legal war room, final preparations were underway. They had built their case like an architect builds a cathedral, meticulously, brick by brick. Depositions from Schiff's former staff, the infamous accurate or not email, and hours of media footage showing the viral aftermath. Their strategy was simple: prove malice, show damage, and let the public do the rest. Clinton himself had grown sharper in tone. In a rare interview with the New York Times, he stated bluntly, "I didn't spend decades building a legacy just to let someone tear it down with a live stream and a slogan." He no longer spoke in soft diplomatic terms. He was fighting for something bigger than political capital. He was fighting for his name. Adam Schiff, meanwhile, was unraveling. His legal team had filed a last-ditch motion to suppress certain emails and delay depositions, citing ongoing discovery disputes. The court denied the request. Cable news dissected the ruling in real time. Legal analysts across the spectrum agreed. Schiff was running out of options. The financial pressure had become untenable. His campaign funds were drying up. He had already sold a rental property in Pasadena. His personal savings were shrinking. Quiet conversations had begun inside his office about a possible settlement. But Schiff refused. In a memo leaked to the Washington Post, he told his aides, "If I fold now, I send a message that truth is optional. I can't do that." But truth, as the lawsuit had revealed, was complicated. Behind the scenes, cracks in his team deepened. A third staff member resigned. Morale was collapsing. And in a painful development, one of Schiff's own climate advisors publicly called for a pivot toward reconciliation, effectively urging him to settle. The media tide turned further. Editorials, once cautiously sympathetic, now expressed concern that Schiff's defiance was doing more harm than good. One op-ed in The Guardian read, "This fight was never about Clinton. It was about a movement, and Schiff may be taking the whole thing down with him." Meanwhile, Clinton was surging. His approval ratings among moderates had climbed. At a town hall in Little Rock, he received a standing ovation. A local reporter captured the mood. 20 years ago, he left the White House. Now he's back in the headlines, not for scandal, but for standing his ground. And then came the final blow. Clinton's team released a pretrial exhibit, a recorded call between two of Schiff's communications aides. In it, one expressed doubts about naming Clinton. The other replied, "Adam says we need a lightning rod. He wants firepower. Clinton gives us that." The audio was grainy but unmistakable. Schiff's voice could be heard saying, "Let's move forward. We don't need 100% proof. We need a story." That clip aired on every major news outlet within hours. By the next morning, Schiff's name trended across every platform, for all the wrong reasons. Donors fled. Staff froze. Even loyal activists began calling for pause. But Schiff wouldn't break. In his final live stream before the trial, he looked directly into the camera, eyes tired, jaw tight. "I know I made enemies. Maybe I made mistakes. But I will never apologize for demanding transparency, even from our heroes." The comment section was a war zone. Some called him brave. Others called him reckless. One viewer wrote simply, "You went too far, Adam." The day of the trial arrived with national attention riveted on the courthouse steps. Hundreds of reporters swarmed the plaza. Protesters on both sides held signs. "Truth matters. Free speech is not free fire. Stand with Bill." Inside the marble-floored hallways, two men prepared to walk into history. Clinton, polished, composed, calculating. Schiff, defiant, weary, unyielding. Both knew what was at stake. Not just $80 million, not just reputations, but the soul of modern political discourse. In an era where words travel faster than facts, where live streams can outpace legislation, and where a single sentence can burn down a career, this case had become a crucible. As the judge called the courtroom to order, America held its breath. And somewhere, between justice and spectacle, the verdict waited. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and press the like button.